Picture that. Defense of Marriage Act, defense, keeping military, gays out of the military. Without lesbians, there would be no army. I'm serious. I've had officers tell me that, about the role that lesbians play in keeping the army going. And now they're on the front lines as well, and out, and carrying pictures of their sweethearts. This is a new day. On September 20th of 2011, the DADT went down. So now we can marry in 6 states, and we can serve in the military openly and honestly. This is huge things for you guys who are just growing up. You're coming into a new age. The only trouble is, if you're married in the military, you don't get any of those rights that the military people get, because marriage is not recognized in the military, so you don't get to live on base. I mean, it's really tragic. So I've talked to more soldiers who say, yeah, we can serve openly now, but we don't get any of the rights and protections that go with it. Oh my gosh, it's time for Q&A. I'm not finished. No. Soulforce is simply the 2 words that Gandhi used to say Satyagraha, truth force, or soul force. Dr. King picked it up. If you read Dr. King now, you'll see Soulforce all the way through. We just put the 2 words together and said, we are committed to relentless, nonviolent resistance. Gandhi hated the word pacifist because it meant you were passive. We believe in relentless, nonviolent resistance. We believe in chasing those Catholics around and chasing those Methodists around, and we haven't even gotten to the Assembly of God people, who are the fastest growing church, and the Nazarenes and the Church of God and all the rest of them. I mean, at this point, we need you to take some stands in your churches. And you'll have more fun doing it. Until you've been arrested, you haven't had any fun. I'm really serious about getting involved with Soulforce. Soulforce headquarters are now in Abilene, Texas. We don't have offices, so we have a new executive director, and that's where she lives. But Cindy Love, who is the new executive director, Dr. Cindy Love, is fantastic. And her staff, which is about 70% women now, and about 30% black, and at least 20% transgender. I mean, it is the most exciting place to work. And so think about going to Soulforce. Look up our webpage, soulforce.org. Every day there's something fun and exciting on it. You can download my What the Bible Says and Doesn't Say about homosexuality. You can download what the science says and doesn't say. I mean, these booklets, you know, anybody who comes up to you and says, this is wrong, all you have to do is quote the American Psychological Association, the American Psychiatric Association, the American Medical Association. All of these professionals representing 250,000 of American professionals say it's medical malpractice to try to change gay people. Right. Medical malpractice. So when your church is telling you they know something, tell them, you know, you don't. I heard a story today from, I won't say who, but you know who I'm looking at, right, Jake? And I heard stories today from you guys that showed the effects, the consequences of this terrible stuff. These have survived, but so many haven't. So many haven't. I want you to survive. If you're young and thinking about accepting your sexual orientation, do it now. Grab it and run with it. It's going to be the best day of your life. Don't let the church push you through all of this doubt and fear and guilt. Stand up to it if you can. There was a Sunday school teacher who said to the kids, I want to tell you a story, but you have to guess what it's about. And so he said, it's little and it runs in your front lawn and it has a curly tail. Nobody knew. So he says, well, it runs along telephone wires. And don't you know who that is? And no. Well, it gets nuts and things and buries them for the winter, and it has a little curly tail, and it's fuzzy, and it runs along a telephone line. Mary, don't you know who that is? And Mary said, I know you want me to say Jesus, but it sounds like a squirrel to me. I had to say that because it's time for Q&A, and if I don't, Richard's going to throw that something out. I usually make them write questions because you know what happens when I speak in universities? Invariably, there's somebody who stands up and says, do you know what Leviticus 20 says? And it spoils the whole evening for me. But if any of you do that, remember, we have bouncers. What I say now to people who say, have you read Leviticus 20? I say, oh, excuse me. You confuse me with someone who cares what you think about Leviticus 20. Because I no longer care. I care about you. But you take your Leviticus and leave me. Because I've suffered enough from those texts and I'm not going to suffer from them anymore.